Fed was founded 100 years ago, right here in Port Angeles, Washington.
It was like the Wild West of the North.
The financial industry was chaotic in Port Angeles before First Fed. Even a local business started printing its own money, both paper and coin.
And that was the local currency in Port Angeles until someone went to Seattle, tried to buy some goods. The money wasn't accepted, so the regulators came in and shut this quasi-bank down.
First Fed was founded in 1923.
In 1923, the first check was written for $2.
They had their first loan, which was $500 to a local carpenter, and his payment ended up being $10.62 a month, and it was paid in gold.
Unfortunately, the gentleman who founded the bank absconded with a good deal of money, and it was discovered 2 years later that First Federal was insolvent and it was ready to close.
That was a decade before deposit insurance.
Bank leadership had promised customers that their money would be safe and sound, so they kept that commitment and covered the losses with their own money.
They did so out of a deep commitment to their customers and to the community.
A real-life version of It's a Wonderful Life. This empty lot was the first location of the original First Federal, when it was Lincoln Savings and Loan, then became First Federal. From 1923, and in 1961 they had to move to have more room. And that's when they went to Front and Oak.
This is a story about a log truck full of logs that dumped their load right in front of the First and Oak branch downtown on First Street.
When I moved in here back in the mid-70s, there were hundreds of logging trucks on the road.
And I heard this big rumble and looked over my shoulder quickly, and here they come. So with one movement, I think I was over on the other side of the desk and down on the ground. And we were afraid they would come through the windows, but what happened was they hit a car that was parked at the curb, smashed it flat as a pancake.
And they were big logs. Now there's little logs. Now we can't even handle big logs.
I would get clippings from my relatives around the country because it went through AP, through all over the country, the pictures of that happening.
The most successful logging companies that were there then are still here, but it's more mechanized, more highly regulated, have to be more conscious of safety because it's still the most dangerous occupation in Washington.
The favorite story I can't tell you is my friend Jeannie Meyer Hedberg and I, who worked Friday night late after everyone else has gone home, at the new office on Front and Oak. We would close the curtains and it would be light inside and dark outside by 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. This was, in the winter. And we didn't realize that people could see in because we were turn the music on high, rock and roll, singing, dancing, doing the work. We got it done. We were both good in math, but my dad started getting phone calls like, "What is going on in your office?" So I don't want to tell you that story.
Not many people are aware of the opportunities that First Fed has provided to women throughout the years. Evelyn Kreider, who was known in the community as Mrs. First Fed, was offered the presidency upon the loss of Perry Brackett in 1972. Evie, as she was known, was in the middle of retiring at that point in time, and so she respectfully declined the position.
Women count. And the story that I can tell you on that was, in those days, back when I was working, women rarely got insurance. Their husbands carried their insurance. And so one of the tellers who had gone through a divorce got very ill and didn't have insurance. And my dad said, "This isn't right." So he went to the board and he said, "The women are all getting insurance." That was back in the 1960s.
My favorite story has to do with one of the people that really meant a lot to me during my career, and that's the story of Karen McCormick. Honestly, her story is amazing. She started off as a teller and through hard work and education became the CEO of the bank. So, I mean, that is so powerful when a company believes in its people and invests in them, it made me believe I could be anything I wanted to be at First Fed.
Back when I began, things were very different. There were no computers, so everything was done by hand. Documents were typed in triplicate with carbon paper on IBM Selectrics.
I was good at math, fortunately, because we were doing a lot of things by hand. I mean, there were adding machines, but there were no computers. Everything was on cards. You know, people's accounts were all on cards. The books were on cards.
We would meet oftentimes in a room with 11 people, and all of us smoked. And so the room was full of smoke, and you'd open the door and you could hardly see from one end to the other. Thankfully, that has changed.
Oh, my first role, I basically didn't even have a title. I called myself the gopher girl, like go do this, go do that, go for this, go for that. But one of my tasks was to run the checks and the cash and the coin to a large commercial bank. We were a small bank at the time. And I would take a huge bag of coin and cash and checks and throw it in the back of my beat up old car and take it down to the local commercial bank and exchange that, basically deposit it for First Fed, which is crazy to think about today.
Another thing that used to happen at First Federal, on a weekend, if you decided you needed a little cash, you could go into the bank, open the door, open the vault, open the inside door, and take a little cash out of the cash drawer and put in a little IOU. The only rule was you couldn't take it out of your own cash drawer. You took it out of another cash drawer. That clearly has changed as well.
Through the time that I worked at First Fed, we had the S&L crisis in '84, we had Black Monday, we had Y2K, we had 9/11, we had the housing market crash in '08. We had the pandemic. We've had Silicon Valley Bank, you know, and now the rising rate environment.
How have we overcome the challenges of the last 100 years? Commitment to our community and financial responsibility.
First Fed is known for crossing the T's and dotting the I's, and we're still here when so many others went away, and that's a result of that strong conservative financial management.
Since the early days, our bank has been committed to financial security. We've often played it safe, more than necessary, because people trust us with their money and their peace of mind.
People came to First Fed because they knew we were here to stay. When people speak with their feet and their money, and they're coming to First Fed, that tells you everything right there, how important we are to this community.
Our family has 6 generations of First Fed customers.
When I came to work in 1973, I was serving the people who are now grandparents, and we see their sons and daughters and the next generations after that.
And I recall when I was 10 years old in about 1986, they sponsored my Little League baseball team in Squim.
Managers speak of helping generations of the same family through the years. We truly do understand the needs. That's built a very strong understanding of the community.
Our community comes first. In addition to providing stability and security, we will continue to invest in innovation to meet our customers' needs.
We are constantly looking for better ways to serve our customers through technology, products, and services.
The interactive tellers, that's the whole beauty around it, is we're not replacing people. We're utilizing people in a new and relevant way that gives options to our customers, right?
If you want to talk to a real live human being at First Fed, you can.
Everything is confidential, and the way that doctors' reports are confidential. You never reveal what you know about a customer's account. And so you're trustworthy, but you're also confidential.
A great example of perseverance with our team was the pandemic. And we were here every day, even though it was just drive-through, but we made things happen.
Because of our roots on the Olympic Peninsula, First Fed understands small communities and the importance of local businesses to the community.
First Fed has been a significant part of the revitalization of Port Angeles, and that will only continue.
First Fed is the only bank and the only publicly traded company headquartered on the Olympic Peninsula.
We wanted to keep it that way because we felt we could serve these communities who all those years had trusted the bank with their money.
We went from that traditional savings and loan to going public in 2015.
It was actually, to some extent, a defensive move that we could maintain our independence.
At that time, we raised capital so that we could grow the bank, create the First Federal Foundation, and after that, we've just taken off. It's just been thrilling to watch the growth.
It's definitely the best job I've ever had. Yeah.
Honestly, with all the shenanigans we get up to, with all the food fests, the little games we play, it's a great group to work with.
Everybody's super nice and supportive. I think First Fed's the best company I've worked for.
What it means to be a local community bank is neighbors helping neighbors, businesses helping businesses. You want to see everyone succeed.
Bankers love numbers, but our customers are more than numbers. They're our neighbors.
And to this day, our local customers are very proud to have us as their bank.
First Fed up and left, proudly serving the Northwest.
I'm standing in front of the bank being videoed. It's pretty funny. They're going to have to edit a lot. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.